Hey y'all, today we are doing week 2, day 1 of our digital learning package, our digital learning day package. And number 1 says a square-shaped playground has an area of 256 feet squared. How long is one side of the playground? When we have a question like this, we need to picture a square playground that has an area of 256 feet. An area is length. We solve for area by multiplying length times width. Well, if it's square, we know the length and the width are going to be the same. So this could be rewritten as area equals a number times itself, which would be a number squared. And then in order, and let's see, we already know that A is 256, so we know that 256 equals x squared. And in order to figure out what x is, we have to do the inverse of squaring it, which is taking the square root. Then we would come over here and take the square root of 256. I'd go to my calculator and do the square root of 256 is 16. So 16 equals x. That means one side of that playground is 16 feet is our unit of measurement. Number 2 is one of those trickier questions. We saw this on one of our tests that says if a cubed equals 27, what is a squared? It's not asking you what a is, it's asking you what a squared is. So the first thing we have to figure out is a cubed is 27. That means a number times itself is 27. And by memorizing our cube roots, we know that 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. So a cubed is 27. A is going to be 3. Now we take that number and square it. So a squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. And that's our final answer. If a cubed is 27, then a squared is 9. Number 3 says solve for x. The first thing we need to do is distributive property. 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times positive 5, because there's a plus sign right there in front of that number, is 15 equals 33. Now I need to isolate my variable on one side of my equation, so I'm going to undo everything that's being done to it. The first thing I can undo is this positive 15. So I'm going to create a zero pair by subtracting 15. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. This creates a zero pair, so we get rid of that altogether. And I'm left with 9x equals 33 minus 15, which is 18. X is being multiplied by 9. I'm going to bring that up here. And the inverse of multiplication is division. So I want to divide both sides by 9. 9 over 9 creates 1. So I'm left with 1x equals 18 divided by 9, which is 2. So I have x equals 2. And of course, I can go back and take 2 and plug it into my original equation and see if that holds true, if this equals this. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. 11 times 3 is 33. And 33 does equal 33. So I know that x equals 2 is correct. Number 3 says, number 4. Between which two consecutive integers is the square root of 110? This is an integer is a number. So we want to know between which two whole numbers is the square root of 110. Well, we have to know our perfect squares that come before and after the square root of 110. So I know that 10 times 10 is 100. So the square root of 100, and 11 times 11 is 121. So the square root of 121 would be our perfect squares that come before and after the square root of 110. Well, the square root of 100 is 10, And the square root of 121 is 11, so the square root of 110 is going to be somewhere in between 10 and 11. And number 5 says find the missing length of the triangle. Now, when this was printed, the bottom length of that triangle was not printed very clearly. We can see that one side is 14. You can make up a length for the other side. The important thing is that you realize that this is your right angle, and these two lengths are going to be your A and B legs, and this unknown side is your hypotenuse or your C. So whenever you enter this information into your formula, A squared plus B squared equals C squared, you're going to use 14 and whatever number you came up with here. So 14 squared, and I just used 49. 14 squared plus 49 squared equals C squared. And then you're going to use your calculator to do 14 squared, which is 14 times 14, equals 196, plus 49 squared, which is going to be a pretty big number. 49 times 49 is 2,401, equals C squared. Then I'm going to add these two numbers together. So 2,401 plus 196 equals 2,597. And I want to isolate C by itself, not C squared. So the inverse of squaring a number is taking the square root of it. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So now I'm going to go back to my calculator and do the square root of 2,597 is approximately, it would be 50.96, approximately 50.96. If you were rounding that to one decimal place, let me show you here. 50.96. If I told you to round that to one decimal place like I normally do in class, that 6 would cause that 9 to round up to a 10, and then you would put a 0 here, and the 1 would come over here. So this would actually round to 51. And it looks like maybe our unit of measurement is centimeters. So it's approximately 51 centimeters.